I'm very fascinated that she's speaking on this subject today because I think it's one that all of us always have, wow, what does happen when we die? So may we please give Kay a nice big hand so she can come up and talk.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
We all made it. I got up too early this morning, but it was really nice to see that lovely full moon. So I haven't come with notes, and I was, if anything, I was thinking, how on earth can I put 51 years of experience into a talk? And I say 51 because I'm 54, and I've been aware of spirit from the age of 3. I would be visited every single night. Got to know a sister I'd never met. She died before I was born. And went into the spirit world several times. And I always wondered about that, because as you go on your spiritual path, you hear a lot about near-death experiences, etc. But I didn't die. And being exposed to the spirit world from the age of 3, I feel was very deliberate. So I could grow up not even thinking about it, but just accepting it. And like what John was saying, you know, sometimes if you overthink something, you get afraid of it. So I absolutely have no fear of death. And in some ways I'm looking forward to it because of the knowledge before and the knowledge to come. So what I thought I would do, and just give you a little warning, as I share experience with you, there will be channeling with that. So, you know, be open-minded, because you all have many family members who are with you, many guides. We have many feelings of prior lives as well. That's why regression is common and appealing. But what happens when you die? And I deliberately chose this subject because I've seen many clients, even one last night. They were up on the slope, never met them, had to just only work with a photograph. And immediately I got their mother coming through. But before that, I was able to describe a grandmother who brought them up. Her qualities from the grandma, and the grandma expressing this young woman's qualities as well. So I work constantly with spirit, constantly, with everybody's family members, guides, and it is constant. So for me, it seems an appropriate subject. Now, many people I channel will always tell me too, they might remember if they're sick in hospital, the body's got very weak, they have a condition, they might be aware that they died in a road accident, they might have drowned, etc. But when you are in the spirit world, you're emotionally detached from that because you're not feeling it. It's not something that's affecting you on a present level anymore. You've got the memory of that, haven't you? And every single person that ever had a condition, ever, will constantly tells me, I was so relieved to be out of that body. You know, I was tired, I was hanging on because the family was hanging on, like, don't leave me, etc. But there is always great relief for people who have a condition, who are potentially suffering. But what carries on in the spirit world is a profound, absolutely profound love for all of you. And this is where I feel blessed, when I'm able to reconnect family members with children, partners, parents, grandparents, best friends, etc. It is really, really nice because they always take full advantage of how they can express themselves to you. How they can bridge gaps. There is so much healing done from the spirit world, it's utterly amazing. Because if you have somebody that's passed and they won't speak, a father passes, he wasn't speaking to the son, well, that father wastes no time. in trying to change that and repair it. And spiritual love is profound, because if I am working with a person, they're in my present, the most amazing thing happens. I just got goosebumps again. But when I feel that, not just the connection, the personality, the channel for the voice, but when you feel that spiritual love is absolutely incredible. And it's life-changing. So when a person is near death, and this applies more profoundly, say if you have a family member and they have dementia, they have Alzheimer's, dementia in particular, they are more in the spirit world always than here. The only thing that hasn't moved, hasn't shifted, is the physical body. And I know that because of the channeling of those people when they're in the spirit world, that they don't have anything they're struggling with, that they're that full self again, full soul, conscious level. And I spent over a year channeling somebody's mother who had Alzheimer's and then dementia. And it's an incredible story, because she's recollecting all the time she was still earthbound and where she traveled to, what that was like. That's kind of like having daily out-of-body experiences. So I can't wait till that becomes a book. But, and actually, correct myself, 1.5 years of channeling. And I met once a week, sometimes twice a week. And it was just fascinating. So that's another aspect. But, so the moment of death occurs. Now, that's not always a good thing for people, because you might be young, you might be feel you've unfinished work, you might not even be ready. But when that time comes, and wherever that reason, whether it's just your time here on earth has come to an end, a situation, a tragedy, whatever happens, you are always escorted into the spirit world. You never make that journey alone, ever. Just to clarify that. Even if you were totally estranged from your family, nearly every single one of us has a pet. And lots of dogs especially are really, really good at coming to escort you back. And there's the excitement. It's like, finally you're there, because they visit you all the time anyway. Look how many people have lost dogs, and you can still hear the patter or the jingle of the bell, even cats as well. So pets are loyal even in death and love to escort us on. You come into this lifetime with a primary guide. That's usually one, sometimes it's more than one. That primary guide will always escort you back into the spirit world, because they were there at your moment of birth. And your primary guide stays with you your entire life. The only thing they do, depending on what you're going through, they often step back and let other people come through that maybe have more experience, or family members even. So as you travel into the spirit world, and I've done this many times, and sometimes it is like being in, going through a tunnel, it's been necessary to give me more experience, more memory, and the reality is so earth-like, but it's a different comprehension. All of you travel into the spirit world every single night. You would have to have serious sleep apnea if you didn't. Every single person goes into the spirit world every night. And you have to, because the soul needs that to be replenished from that higher energy. So even if you only had 4 hours sleep and you're tired, at least you have enough energy to get you through that next step. If you look at people with sleep deprivation, they get very ill very quickly. You have the dream states. That's where loved ones, it's the easiest way to connect you. Because those of you, I don't want to see that parent, that person, I'm going to get too upset. I don't want to be scared because I live on my own, but what if and maybe, sadly, some people still have ill feelings, ill will to people who pass on. Not everybody gets on in every family. So the dream state is always the easiest way for people to reach you. You might have a strange dream, but the dreams of family, people who are relevant, especially those trying to get hold of you, you will remember that dream. Even if you can't remember the conversation, you remember the person in that dream with you. When you pass initially in the spirit world, it's like a hospital situation always. Absolutely always. And what I mean by that is you passed, the soul can have a memory of birthing, being born, and always retains a memory of death, especially when you're channeling that person, because they're telling you, you know, I was relieved, my Uncle Bob came to meet me, my late husband came and escorted me. Everybody has that memory once you pass in the spirit world. So you are put in a sleep state. So just imagine, and it is the same with one exception. So let's just say 80% of us, we go to this, we pass to like a hospital situation where it's very calm, very peaceful, you're asleep on a bed, and you've got constant visitors coming around you. Now, if somebody dies traumatically, and children especially, they are kept in that sleep state for longer, just kind of like a medically induced coma. And what happens each time we become consciously awakened in the spirit world, there's somebody there we recognize who is there in a loving way, in a loving capacity, always family. Often people will recollect, well, my great-grandmother was there, but I never met her. But that's going on in that communication. And so as soon as that soul is adjusted and consciously, you know, okay, I'm in the spirit world, you know, you start on another journey almost immediately. And that journey is you are consciously evaluating your lifetime. Wherever you did, your experiences, wherever you thought, you're evaluating that. And you've all heard of that situation where my life just passed before me, you know. But if you think about it in the spirit world, you have a lot of time to look back and evaluate and process. That's why when I do the constant channeling for family members, things will come up. Usually, so this is a big one always, I want to take this opportunity to tell you how proud I am. And I've had clients go, you know, because maybe they weren't getting on, maybe they weren't communicating. I get many challengings of, I'm sorry, over and over again. I'm so sorry I didn't encourage you, I didn't support you, I didn't let you be yourself. And I'm so sorry. Because all the healing work I do, and I've contracted with the Native corporations for coming up 9 years now, there's so much focus on past and childhood, but it's not the person I'm helping, it's the family I'm connecting to, so it goes beyond the parents, often the grandparents. And if the grandparents are already in the spirit world, well, they take advantage of any situation because they are trying to help the family heal. They're trying to help you heal. And so this journey begins where you are evaluating your entire lifetime. And children who pass, especially children who pass in a really young age, they obviously only here for a short time. And my sister was one of them. She was only here for 4.5 years, but she is very evolved. And her journey here wasn't to make my parents distraught, because obviously they never got over that loss. but to impact enough people with a presence that it was really for their benefit. And she is still in the spirit world, not just waiting for us because she's very evolved. She can simply randomly choose if she wants another life experience, and will randomly choose wherever that purpose might be. That's why people with, every single person I've ever met that has Down syndrome is incredibly evolved, because they come from, that is such a heartfelt energy, isn't it? They just know how to love you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what they're about. And they choose that condition to teach you. Maybe you need to love yourself more. Maybe you need to love others more. And that is every single person. And when I was in college in England, I helped teach a class with Down syndrome adults. Incredible. Incredible. Not just what they were teaching me, but what they were showing me on a conscious level. So just remember that every time you meet a Down syndrome child or adult, give them a hug. Ask if you can give them a hug, because they'll be very responsive. So now, what is it like on the other side? That's the big question, isn't it? That's probably the second question, like what happens when you die. Your reality is your own making. And this was channeled this morning in a way to help explain it. You are conscious of your reality right now, aren't you? How you think, how you evaluate it. You've got the energetic connection to everything around you. It's your experience, isn't it? So if you're a happy person, I mean, most people are affected by that happiness. They like being around you. If you're solitary, that's fine too. Maybe you're a person you are deeper in thought. You need that time. But in the spirit world, your reality becomes your reality there. So if you, for example, if you're creative and artistic and regret times you didn't make that a bigger priority, well, you definitely take advantage of that in the spirit world. It's never ceases to amaze me how many grandfathers, fathers and sons are fishing in the spirit world. Really, literally. And sometimes I can be channeling for a family and the dad and grandfather will come through and they're showing me, well, that in preparation for this family channeling, they were discussing and evaluating that while they were fishing. So you have to, the easiest way to explain this, because this is why I'm so comfortable in both realities, and I spend a lot of time in the spiritual realms. But it's very earth-like, and if you have a love of traveling, you can still have a love of traveling in the spirit world, because that is your existence. If you like being by a beach, you can be by a beach in the spirit world. And those of you who have come to classes where I took you to the 7th dimension, you have in that level a cavern of water. And when you go through that experience, when I take you through that, you're in water. You're telling me you swam. But the difference is it's more energy than water, even though every single person in that class has always said, but I was swimming and I dive very deep, etc. So when you're in the spirit world, it's the same thing. You're swimming, you're having that experience. The only thing that is different, you're not eating the same, but you have the impression that you're eating. I've met my father a few times and he's been there with his bicycle. He's shown me a situation in a club. We have lots of pubs in England, I guess you know. But my dad used to go to the cricket club. So he showed me a situation where he took me there and they were all drinking. They're all having a beer. Now, they are having a beer in that spiritual existence because they enjoyed that. So the only thing that would be different, just to give you some forewarning and tease you a little bit, you can't take your money with you. You might have the experience over there of wealth if you like a certain way of living, but remember that's your consciousness enjoying something. But you can't abuse anything in the spirit world because there are limitations as well. Because when you are fully back to your full conscious reality, which affects all of us, and even if you have people who are atheists, that's trying to think. You know, there are a few belief systems that absolutely would condone me, you know, as a medium even. Jehovah's Witnesses, for example. You know, people who really, because they would just look at me and this devil's work, and they have no, I mean, they're so off the chart, it's not funny. But you pass to your full conscious level, and you can have that here, but you're on a searching journey. That's why you're here this morning. You're on your spiritual journey. You're trying to find who you are. It's the journey of the self, isn't it? Which takes me to the channeling this morning, and that is stop wasting time. You know, and this is a channeling, being blunt with you. Stop wasting time. Stop constantly switching. You're only confusing yourself. And if you really want to embrace your spiritual journey, focus on you, your experience. And I've been to ashrams in India. I've met many, many holy men. I've been to Mount Sinai. I've sat and talked to the Bedouin. I've done my own research in learning my journey. And they will all tell you the same thing. You know, you make things very complicated, very complex. Because look how many people that can have great wealth in their life, do really well, work incredibly hard. And when you get to retirement, well, everybody's left, haven't they? All the children have gone. The house is too big. You start to simplify your life anyway, don't you? You look for simpler things. You don't want the big luxury holidays anymore. You probably can't afford it on your pension anyway. But you actually start to be good. As you get nearer to that death time, wherever that is, you start to uncomplicate your life. And that's the channeling I got this morning. Stop constantly going for every different thing. You don't have to do all that, but just focus on you, your present. That's what came through so strongly this morning. Your presence, present time, absolutely matters. You can't take the past or forget about it, accept it. But as you work on your present state of mind, how you are as a person, how you are to everybody else. Be responsible in your present moment. And if you start thinking about that, but keep it simple, you know, you immediately uncomplicate yourselves on an emotional level. And if you make that your discipline, it's kind of like starting off with a meditation, isn't it? Trying to be your best in every situation. I mean, even if other people tick you off, fine. Just like, no, just accept it, let it go. If you keep doing that, this is a channeling this morning, then you create this lovely overlap, and it continues to be an overlap. And before long, you're having a great life experience. People are saying to you, what's different? You're smiling more. You kind of look calm. You've got this energy. What is it about that person, man, woman? So that's the channeling this morning. Stop complicating your life. You're all over the place. You are, you're grasping at all these different beliefs. But the spiritual belief, it is within yourself. It's your spiritual journey. Keep it simple is the message. There's nothing to stop any of you reading, researching. But don't find something and say, I have to be this now. No, I'm going to be over here. That's kind of like saying, I'm going to be a Christian, a Buddhist, a Hindu. You can complicate things, and they're saying, don't do that. Don't do that. Keep it simple. And you will thank me for that channeling in years to come. You'll thank me long term when you're in the spirit world, because you kept it simple. And the most evolved people I've met on earth, and I've met many of them, live a very simple existence. So if you're looking for your spiritual enlightenment, think about that. How am I doing today? What am I projecting? How is my energy? How is my communication? Not so you're stressing yourselves out, but focus how you can make that simple. So that was the message I got when I was drinking my coffee way too early this morning. So in the spirit world, you begin a journey, you're evaluating your life. All your experiences, all the relationships, and the relationships and the emotions are the two biggest things that I could write books on them, literally, for all the channels I've ever done. And just John pointed out something, I too grew up around death. I mean, I didn't realise I'd lost an older sister, that was number one. I'd look at so many people growing up and I would think, you know, and then I had to stop talking about it because I'd get in trouble. My mum would say, stop that, you know. And then I'd hear Dad say, how does she know she's ill? I don't know. So this little whisper. So I learned to kind of tone that down and lock it down. But I had a grandmother who was a medium who thankfully saw something in me and guided me. But I had a balance. Church of England, christened, confirmed, because obviously, you know, having a faith is a great foundation. But being spiritually aware, becoming spiritually enlightenment, to me is a perfect balance. But that's just from my perspective. So it's not too late, and there are quite a few of you in here that are struggling right now with siblings, children. You've got the relationships with your parents, even if they're not there. So all of us are impacted, aren't we? I've been married before. We're impacted by things on a relationship level, and it's often harder. The hardest thing always is a relationship in your family. So if you are not getting on with somebody and you've tried and that they don't see eye to eye with you, lots of different reasons, stop wasting time is the message. Focus on you. You be the example for yourself. Because every time you go back to that, I'm not getting on with my sibling, they won't befriend me on Facebook, all those different things that happen and we take so personally, don't we? Stop doing that. It is pointless, and that's direct channeling to you. It's absolutely pointless. Live your life for you. Become the example. And you don't need permission. You don't need even appreciation. That comes enough times. Those of you that have, have had one-to-one with me, it comes through a lot from people who are around you, guiding you. You are loved enough from the spirit world that you have so many family members, even the ones you've never met, because I'm going, great, whatever, they're still there and have access to you. So in the spirit world, time is very, very fast. I kind of compare that's like an astronaut leaving Earth. It's very fast. So we are left in the grief of a situation, the impact, the void. The person who's already begun that conscious journey is already going through a lot of that experience. And if you think about it, it needs to be very fast, because if you are going through your entire lifetime, you don't have to be 90 and think, oh my God, I'll never get through all this. You might be 26 when you die. But maybe, you've had more emotional things that impacted you. So that all your family members are very busy evaluating, working through. And thankfully, because of love, remember we come here through love. We pass on to love, thank goodness. Because I have sadly channeled many people that have took their own lives. And there's too high a level in the Native communities. That impacts everybody. And on my recent trip to Yakutat, I finally got the triplets to come to see me individually, which was huge, because their dad took his life. And I hope to, because I get everybody to befriend me on Facebook, because I have to stay in touch that way sometimes. But thank goodness, because one girl was already self-harming. The impact of her losing her dad was that traumatic. But the dad, thankfully he passed to love, because there is never anybody ever, and I don't care if you have somebody who leaves you with meticulous goodbye notes, who plans it for months. Nobody ever passes to the spirit world, glad they did that. Everybody passes to the spirit world trying to explain what got them to that level. You know, it's usually I was depressed, I fell in a hole, it was a cry for help. There's a very, very high percentage of people, it was simply a cry for help, but they just got overwhelmed. So, irrespective of what has to go on a death certificate, that's just low, isn't it? The coroner has to do his job. Thankfully, being able to channel loved ones, family members, you can heal such a traumatic loss, because it's huge. It impacts absolutely everybody. So that the most important thing is you have to think about this. Think of everybody you've lost right now. Especially think of people you didn't have the best relationship with. And just focus on them for a moment. Because unless they were very, very negative and low level, every single person around you, this is a collective channeling, wants to express themselves, tell you how they feel, support you, build you, and help you so much with anything of your past, especially if they implicated it. That goes for all of you, because I haven't got time to come and give you all different channelings. But Tracy, you know, and I was thinking about you, and I'm glad you came. When I did a John Edwards night, I will never forget how her dad came through. And all the family were all sat on 2 rows, and it was just so profound, because as I was talking to you all, especially your mum, because it was your dad coming through, his love was just amazing, because the seating was the other way around. But all the people over here were in tears, because it wasn't just what was said, they could feel that love. So that applies to all of us. And you might have had the most grumpy old, arrogant, obnoxious grandfather or father, and you just don't have great memories. But guess who is in the spirit world working incredibly hard trying to make amends? So you can never say life is wasted, because in the spirit realms, they are trying to overturn that. So, without looking at anybody, I know somebody who has a sister who, I just get lots and lots of sighs. But that sister will pass in the spirit world and will be the one who's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, you were so right. Now I can see why you came in, you were evolved. You came into the family. And that's the other thing. Even if you feel disconnected from family and you think, I don't even fit in, it's very likely that you came to choose to be in that family experience to help them grow, to be of service, literally. So don't, think about what was said. Simplify your life. Let go of all the emotions. The past does not matter. Even if you are looking back and thinking, I should have done something different, oh my God, I cannot live with regret, but with the responsibility I carry, which is huge. It's huge. I don't think any of you realize that. It's my responsibility for every single person I ever come and meet and work with, even teach. I have to give the most direct channeling that I possibly can. But even I know this, I can't focus on my past, so I should have done that different or whatever. even I can realise it's more important what I do today is way more important, and how I can be better than I am, and how I can be more of service to people around me, including my family. So think about what was said. So in this, so it's very earth-like in the spirit world. Things you love, even with a passion, yes, you can still enjoy them. But, you know, unless it's gambling or, that wouldn't be really allowed. But pursuits and pleasures, if you love to read, if you love the arts, if you love the music. When I take people to the seventh dimension, the halls of learning, which is a conscious library, many, many thousands of souls there, but you don't see that many. But that's where the true Akashic records are. There's many, I've been there, I've met Sai Baba, I've met, Gandhi, I've met the current Dalai Lama, because obviously he's in the spirit world a lot trying to gain knowledge. Every possible ascended master ever, you can meet them there. Because when I take people to the halls of learning, I always say, ask who you want to connect with. And they will be there, even if you don't know they're there. I can share that with you. I can even tell you what they're trying to guide you with. So we have tremendous knowledge, but we only have this knowledge, this comprehension. And I know everybody has a fascination of prior lives and we feel connected to other cultures. I keep asking myself, why do I keep going back to Yakutat, But then, as I suspected, I don't just have good relationships with people there, I am from there. I definitely am part of that culture, but not in this lifetime. But I have that memory. Just as I can, many of the cultures from, there's just too many. So even I too am an old soul in this lifetime. And I say that with absolutely zero ego, because I learned from a really young age of 3 that what my purpose was for, and that is to be of service, to grow, to learn and pass on. But I've had every title given possible, including the gatekeeper, and that was given to me from a holy man in India, and he says you can open the door, the gate, from this world to the next. So that's why I had such early exposure from the age of 3. So all your loved ones are still enjoying what they did. But what is so important too, just like Tracy's dad, his love for his wife and his family was so huge that it was almost as if he passed to the spirit world and went, great, that body's gone now. Even though, remember, you're still looking at your physical self, but from a spiritual perspective. And then straight back to her mum, straight back to all the children. And I want you to think about something. When I say to you, they are only ever a thought away, your family members and guides, pick up your thinking, especially when you're troubled, are there in an instant. Continue to help you, even when you don't realise it. And like I've said this before, even when you reach a low level and you pick up your favourite picture of your grandmother or your mum or dad, and so I just wish you were here right now, and you tell me what to do, and then you put that picture down and then you go on, well, you've got them right there. You have to take it that next step further. Continue that conversation. What can I do? Show me show me the right decision. And they will get that information to you by images, by something you just pick up and think, oh, that's exactly what I was feeling. And when you're really not listening, then it's your own fault if you lose the keys, if you feel you're becoming, you've got Alzheimer's, dementia, and it's like, what did I do? And, that's you feeling scatterbrained, but it's people around you. You sought their help, or they know you need their help and they're trying to help you. So there's no real gap And just briefly, the news impacts everybody, and it's pretty much negative, isn't it? Apart from the weather, that can be negative as well sometimes. But those people who have a lower vibration go absolutely back to that lower vibration. And it takes an extremely long time for them to remotely evolve. And I know that because I've been to a lot of the lower dimensions in the spirit world, usually with angelical forces, and you know, it's that for me was so I would understand that level of emotion, you know, how low that was. And because I've removed many negative forces, even those on a demonic level, for example, are never allowed back. However they were created, formed, whatever brought them here, it's a universal law. They are never allowed back. So anybody that has done great harm to anybody in their life experience, in the living sense, it takes a very long time before they can ever have a life experience. And if they have one, it's a very limited one. Maybe they'll come back with a serious medical condition, but they have to be agreeable to that. So, you know, irrespective of what you hear in the news, they are dealt with. They're dealt with because they're dealing with themselves on that conscious level. But bear in mind, too, that somebody that's done great harm to anybody, in the spirit world, it's like this tenfold, it's magnified in a way you would never, it would be worse than the worst horror film you could ever imagine. Because they have to live that, that's where they're at, that's that level. So, you know, so never worry about getting angry and seeking justice and, you know, becoming overwhelmed. They are honestly dealt with. So like I said in the beginning, simplify your life. You've got to let go of your past, it's done. That you are being helped on many levels, irrespective of what that was, and family and members, etc. And so how can you live your life the best way now? Because that's the channeling coming through. You know, just focus on you. I mean, you don't become selfish, just become you. Try to be happier, more responsive, more aware of yourself, your behavior. And probably the second most important thing, protect yourselves. You know, when you're in a situation, you're simply pulling your energy. Put yourself in that bubble, visualize white, pink, violet, especially violet. And disconnect yourselves from people who are not receptive to you. You're honestly better off sending them healing. You know, working on positive intent, because you are not going to influence them at different levels. So this is happening continually. And I think that is the end. So, like I said, but, you know, I could honestly talk all day. There's just fascinating experiences.
Do you want to tell them about your class that's
yes,
starting?
So on Tuesday, I'm going to be channeling Dr. Holstein. He was a philosopher in the 1800s, Dutch, and I can't go in complete full trance. With the greatest respect, I mean, I've done that before in England. I've done the transfiguration, ectoplasm, etc. But I don't have anybody here who could assist me to go completely fully under. But I'm almost fully under. So I respectfully ask that it's 6:30 to 8:30. So please try to be on time. And what he does, he calls himself a doctor. He works extensively with the medical profession when they pass in the spirit world. He's a doctor of energy. So he works on, you know, you see me doing kind of little weird different things, and he's talking, and I have no control. I have enough awareness. I can't go completely fully under, because if I did, I don't know who could bring me back. So I'm almost there. I'm probably like 95% there. So, and his intention is to work with everybody that comes. So if it's a big group, be patient. It'll be worth, you might feel it immediately or days later, weeks later. So he works on the energy to repair that, put you back in balance. So the physical body is impacted and then the emotional body is impacted. So should be a good night. Tuesday here, 6:30. Thank you so much.